All right, so we're going to do a case study today that's going to combine the blood work, the genetic test from My Happy Genes, the methylation, and then, you know, the supplementation, and show you how it all kind of came together in a really interesting case. And because I have been getting a lot of questions like, well, when do I do the blood work, or should I do the blood work, or when do I do the genetic testing, and do I need to do the genetic testing? And sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't. So this was a case where I wasn't getting the results that I wanted. We were making some good headway, but I still felt like there was something missing. And this, the new My Happy Genes blood work panel really took it home for me and showed me what the pieces that I was missing. And then I was able to corroborate that with the genetic test. So it's kind of cool. Do you guys have any other wants, desires, needs to chat about for this meeting?
Well, are you going to cover the amino acids?
Yes.
And the levels? Perfect. That's really one of my biggest.
Yeah, that was the key. That was really the key to this case. So I think you'll find it kind of interesting. You know, I spent a lot of time looking at the blood work and trying to get a blood work panel with Harry Eidner and Bill Beakey from Professional Co-op Services that would serve our needs, but keep the cost low, but give us a kind of an overall of what was going on in the methylation pathways. And I think we achieved that, but you know, it's $218 for that panel. Have you guys been using it?
Yes.
I do the same lab as well.
Okay, cool.
I have a question though on that. Are you or somebody else, in the past been putting it through NutriWest as part of the blood work. Is that a good place to put it in? I'm trying to find a printout that patients can look at. And the only reason I didn't like using it is because everything's NutriWest. Yeah. And so I don't know if people were using, are you using a different one or recommendation besides Professional Co-op at this time?
No, you know, I'm not. It's in the back of my mind that I probably need to recreate that blood work side of the FH eval going forward. So I think I'd like to have it coordinate with what we get, you know, because the supplement recommendation comes from a genetic, you know, from your genes, from the biochemistry, and then from your symptoms. So if we could put a fourth piece of the algorithm in there, which is blood work, bam, that would be like, it would really increase our accuracy. So I'm not sure how we can do that. And I'll have to talk to my software development team and see if they can actually do that, but that would be very cool. And if they can't, then we'll do like we did on the FH eval, which is, you know, just keep them separate so you can have a printout and look at both and kind of corroborate the findings. Meanwhile, I do have a worksheet. So that, let me just share that real quick. Holly, are you using the worksheet?
Which one?
The
Happy Genes blood.
Yeah, the Happy Genes blood work worksheet.
You know, I have not used it until today. I have some blood work that I just got in on a patient, and I'm just getting his DNA reports going for Happy Genes. So today I pulled it out, sat down with all of it.
Oh, okay, cool.
And the report. But so now I'm intensively looking at it.
Okay, great. So on your membership site, you should see all of this stuff in here. And I've just been madly adding more stuff, but there's the blood work worksheet there. So you can just go in there and download that little puppy. And what I tried to do was look at, you know, a traditional blood work, but look at it through the lens of genetics. And so, and then I talked to Bill Beakey and Harry Eidner about optimal ranges rather than just like, you know, what the recommended ranges. This was like optimal ranges, like a functional health range. And so like C-reactive protein, these are the things that you would want to look at if it's out of whack. And there's some description there. So I looked at these kind of in a different way. I didn't give nutrient recommendations because they're there. If you look at SOD or CAT or NOS or VDR, you know where to find those, right? Yeah. Okay, so this should guide you a little bit into understanding what you're looking at with the blood work. I did the same thing. Really, yeah, I did the same thing. I'm working on the same thing with, whoops, let's see, too many windows open here. I did the same thing with the amino acids. This is the amino acid interpretation, and I'm just kind of going through it. This is exciting to me. This is really cool. There's a really good article here. I just put this in the document to learn more about the amino acids. Go to the medical biochemistry page. And if you really want to dig in here, the amino acids tell us so much about what's going on in the body, and especially with the methylation, because we're looking at, like the amino acids are all through here, right? You have aspartate and tyrosine and arginine and ornithine, and all of these amino acids are all over the place. So I've just started adding them in. In fact, I just added this in today, the aspartate that's made from oxaloacetate, and I found a new gene, the GOT gene. GOT genes? There's the AS gene. That's another new addition. But as I've been studying the amino acids, I'm finding some pretty interesting things. Like there's sarcosine. When I did my mom's, her blood work and her amino acid test, her sarcosine was really high. And I'm like, what's that? I didn't really know what it was. Had to go research it and found a couple of other genes that are added in here. So it's interconverted to glycine. So you'll start to see, the amino acids starting to show up throughout the pathway and make a little more sense to us. And then, I'm in the discovery phase of how do we work with that? How do we balance those things? So this is under the definitions, the tester definitions. You'll see amino acid tester definitions on your site. You guys are the only ones who have access to this. This is not available anywhere else. And then I created a test kit for it because I was like, allo-isoleucine. What the heck is that? Alpha amino adipate. Didn't know what it was. So these are a little different. There's some overlap, like there's the arginine, which we know is NOS, but there's some that are like, I don't know what that is. And so the amino acid test kit lets us do this without having to do the blood work, and also find the remedies, if you do see it on the blood work. So is that helpful?
Mm-hmm. Okay. I guess have Anna send me a kit when she has one ready.
They're ready. Yeah, they're available. So they're on the amino acid tester definitions are right here on your master methylation site. So you can download that. Mary, there's a bunch of new stuff in here. You're gonna have.
No, I saw that earlier. I was excited when I opened it up.
Like opening up a Christmas.
Oh yeah.
And again, I'm adding all kinds of new stuff in here for you guys that nobody else will have. Okay, so let's look at this case study. This guy, where's my case study? There he is, Charles. Charles he was a patient of mine for a long time when I was living in New Mexico, and then he moved to Denver and I moved to Florida, so I didn't see him for a while, but he never really had much going on except some allergies, severe allergies, and some mild anxiety, but he drank a lot of coffee. He began a series of allergy shots, which seemed to really help the allergies. In fact, he's now experiencing no allergic signs and symptoms. He went from severe to none, but that seems to be when some of the anxiety started. So I was like, I just think there's a relationship there, and I haven't figured it out now. But he started using Ambien and Xanax together for anxiety attacks. And I was like, oh, I'm going to Google that. And I Googled it. And one of the main symptoms he was having too was global amnesia. He was just like completely losing where he was, what he was doing, who he was talking to, what he was talking about. And he's a real estate agent. And it's like he was really blowing these big deals. And he's like, oh my God, you got to fix this. This is crazy. But when I Googled Ambien and Xanax together, it said, warning, global amnesia.
Wow.
I was like, dude, this is a big problem. So Xanax itself also kind of an issue with memory problems. So I put some links there.
Like the medicine he's taking for his problems causing his problem.
Exactly. Yeah. So I found this interesting article here on anti-anxiety drugs causing memory loss, cholesterol drugs, seizure drugs. Anyway, something to remember. And we know, but it's nice to be reminded that a lot of people coming in are complaining of problems that are being caused by their medications. And so I was like, dude, stop those, both of those. And Ambien is really hard. It's really hard to get off of. I don't know have you guys ever tried to get people off Ambien? That's a tough one. You have to really kind of wean off of it because they have a rebound, symptoms. But in 2018, he kind of called me up and he was like, you got to help me. My brain is gone. Complained of anxiety spiking. He's taking Xanax, kind of as needed. Having periods of global amnesia, which are really bad. He called it lizard brain, or lack of focus and memory, especially at work, real estate agent, high level. He tried citalopram, which was a disaster, he said. He weaned off of coffee 90%. Sleep's not good for a year and a half, kind of up and down. GABA and theanine helped some, but he was just freaking out because he was, he just couldn't remember anything. We did blood work back then and found low free testosterone, which can cause some of this, anxiety. Cholesterol was a little high for sure, 276, LDLs, HDLs, triglycerides were okay. Glucose creeping up there. Hemoglobin A1C was fine though. So I think that was just a blip on the radar. MCH was just a little high, which, can kind of indicate B12 issues. TSH, I don't know about you guys, but I like to see it below 2. I like to see between 1 and 2. Do you guys have an opinion about that? So I thought this was right. Slightly high, and sometimes that can lead to the high cholesterol, the lipids. But take a look at the vitamin D, 17.2, and I like to see that more around 60 to get the best results from that. So that was my first clue that we had a VDR. Bilirubin was high, so I'm thinking, you guys know what the bilirubin would probably indicate, which gene?
No.
It's the UGT.
UGT.
Yeah, so when you're looking at the map over here. So this is the only enzyme, the UGT here, that clears bilirubin. So I suspected there might be an issue there. Ferritin was high. But here's the weird thing. His ferritin was high, but his iron and total iron binding capacity were fine. So it wasn't like a hemochromatosis. And so I was like, I don't know what that means. So I called Harry and I called Bill and I was like, talk me through ferritin. Why is it high when everything else is low? And they said, oh, every time, both of them said virus. There's like a hidden virus, or it's inflammation. But almost always when I see that high ferritin, it's a virus. I'm like, okay, well, that fits with the vitamin D receptor kind of problem.
White blood cells low.
What's that?
Well, the white blood cells low, but I was wondering what your neutrophils and lymphocytes were a relationship, because that would give you indication with viral or bacteria.
Right, exactly. So the white blood cells low tell us virus. And the lymphocytes were within range, but they were on the high side. So that ratio tells us.
That would make sense. Yeah.
Homocysteine being high, we know that's going to be a methylation issue. So I already know a lot just by looking at this. We know we have probably an ACAT, right? Let's look at that real quick. Over here.
Do you find that really pans out that way?
Yes, absolutely. So ACAT is up here and it blocks cholesterol being broken down into bile. So this also is going to be a problem for the VDR, right? Because bile helps us absorb fat-soluble vitamins, the A, D, and K. So that's going to interfere with our VDR function and cause the cholesterol to go high. So it's making sense in that respect. So I think we have an ACAT, which would also cause the glucose to go high. We have the VDR, we have a UGT, we have some kind of viral infection there, and that's probably VDR, high homocysteine, which is going to point us toward methylation. So we already know a lot, from just that blood work. Muscle testing showed us adrenals and brain, multiple food sensitivities, dairy.
Sorry, Jay, is it likely that if you looked at the DNA test that all those variants would show up, or is it likely that some of those are symptoms?
Yeah, they did. Very much so. Well, you'll see that in a minute. So these were some of the foods that were showing up as issues. I don't want to go into a whole lot of detail there. Just a few notes: that dairy and tryptophan and N-acetyltransferase, kind of with the coffee. The genetic variants we saw, we detected with holistic methylation protocol, were these. But the 23andMe data is so anemic, you can't see the whole picture. So we had him do the My Happy Genes, and I'll show you what the difference there. And these were the supplements that we put him on: CoQ10, adenosine B12, SOD lozenges. This is back when I was using SOD lozenges. Mineral 650 AKD for the VDR, Ultimate Omega, of course, B complex for the methylation, pantothenic acid for the adrenals, and phosphatidylserine for the adrenals too, to try to get that adrenaline out of his system to calm his brain down. And then I also had him do procortisol balance just for symptomatic relief at night, total alpha lipoic acid for that ACAT. And again, that's back when I was kind of using those products, and we've come a long way since then. We did a follow-up in November, some improvements, but still having symptoms of memory issues and anxiety. We rechecked his program and added some DHEA 25 and testosterone formula. His sleep was better. A lot of times, testosterone and DHEA can lower anxiety, especially in men, but even in women, even in older women. I've put older women who are really anxious, I put them on testosterone formula or something like that, and they just chill out. It's just it's so cool. We did a follow-up in person.
Jay, what do you use for that testosterone product? What do you typically do?
Oh, that's testosterone formula from ITI is what we used here, or Tomcat is another one that I use quite a bit, but he tested good on the testosterone formula.
Okay.
It's a good product. Yeah.
They actually call it Tomcat?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a product I developed actually by Zorax.
Really?
Yeah.
I tell everybody they're getting the power pill, and they're like, is that what it's really called?
I know.
It's called the power pill. I thought you were just saying it was my power pill.
No, I was just kidding around. I just called it that and gave it to Zorax. I was like, call it whatever you want. But they were like, well, let's call it power pill. It's funny. One of my patients said, do I get a cape with that, or what? He's like, cartoon name. Like, well, it says it all. Anyway, so he flew down here in May 2019 in person. At least I got to check him. Overall better, but still having episodes of anxiety. Muscle testing current program also showed allergy, sinus, arteries, and brain. So we just did a program on that. And then he started working with another holistic methylation practitioner in Denver. I referred him to a doctor there. And they started him on some energy drops and stuff like that, and added trimethylglycine, methylrenew. He said the vitamin A, this is important to remember because it's part of the puzzle here. He doubled the vitamin A because he felt like he was, what did he say? Something like, my eyes were still dry. My eyes were dry. And he said, oh, the vitamin A needs to be doubled. But I found the reason why that is. The vitamin A was not being absorbed well because of another genetic variant that we really haven't talked about a lot. So I'm going to show you that in a second. Added Proto Food. I don't know that product. Standard Process. And then Hypo D. We did the cholesterol blood work in November follow-up. His cholesterol went up. His triglycerides went up. HDL went down. His LDLs went up. I was like, ooh. So then I talked to him on the phone on May 5th, feeling overall pretty good. Occasional episodes of anxiety and memory loss, still using Xanax. And from the research I did today, I'm going to tell him cut that out because that's probably where the memory loss is coming from. And he's using phenibut, but I think they pulled phenibut off the market. Are you guys using phenibut at all? Or? It is.
No.
It's like a super strong form of GABA, and it really just kind of like brings you down. So that's when I was like, all right, something's being missed here. You know, we're not getting where I want to go. It's still these episodes of anxiety and memory loss. What is happening? So I did his blood work. Let me show you that. Okay. So we did, that's the amino acid. Let's see. Yeah. So his blood work, you know, again, that was the high cholesterol that I was talking about. Like, ugh, don't like that. He's holding off his cardiologist who's saying, statins, statins. I'm like, no.
Run.
Yeah.
So he's, let's see, let's get to the juicy stuff. Here's the serum ferritin, still really high. And again, we had put him on some antivirals for a little while, and I think it brought it down a little bit. It was like 650, brought it down to 526. His vitamin D, look at that. On VDR support, still not budging much. It was like 14 before, now at 22. We redid the cholesterol after another program, starting to drop a little bit, but not much, you know, not to a happy spot. TSH, still don't like that very much. I like it under 2, but we'll take a look at that. And then these guys are telling me B6 deficiency, potentially.
Is there like a underlying autoimmune issue because his neutrophils and lymphocytes are both 45, and I always understood there's supposed to be a 2-to-1 ratio.
You're right.
So it's like he's got, I don't know what his WBCs are, but are they still low or are they coming up?
They're coming up. So we made a little, but they're still on the low side. Yeah.
It's almost like he's got a low-grade infection that's not clearing, which goes back to the D.
Exactly.
That's how I would look at it.
Yes, exactly right. And
but he's got active autoimmune issue going on. If those are both 45 to 45, that's how I would look at that.
Right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's showing me, VDR is not dialed in. We see it in a couple of places. We see it in the 22 for a vitamin D, and we're seeing it here in this, white blood cells on the low end and lymphocytes, at the wrong ratio there. Exactly. So then we did the amino acid profile as well. And so we have proline is super high. Valine, isoleucine, and leucine. Those are your branch chain amino acids. Just write those down for a second. I'll show you where those fit in.
Can you say those again?
Valine, isoleucine, and leucine. And see how high they are? They're like super high. And I'll tell you where that fits in a second. For the bonus points, can anybody tell me why that tyrosine is high?
There's the vitamin D receptor.
The VDR.
That's exactly right. There's our third clue that there's a vitamin D receptor variant not working. Same with the phenylalanine high, because those are both processed by VDR. So when we look over here, the tyrosine and phenylalanine both come through here, and this is a vitamin D dependent enzyme. So it's showing us, you definitely have. Did I lose it? Oops, went to the wrong one. Yeah, you definitely have, this right here shows me definitely have a VDR that's not working right, even though he's on VDR support. And so this is super important, because a lot of the doctors that I talk to are like, well, I had to fight an infection on top of doing the VDR. It's like, dude, you didn't, you can do that, but then you've left this problem here. You're not addressing the core and you're leaving a bunch of messy stuff behind. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Like if you don't upregulate that VDR, not only you're not getting rid of that virus, but you're also leaving tyrosine high and phenylalanine high, which can actually cause another set of problems. And then here was another interesting clue, histidine. And that one is up on the top left. And so this, histidine is converted into histamine through this action of this enzyme, HTC. This is a B6. What's that?
With all the sinus stuff, allergies.
Yeah.
So well, did they kick that further out once they started doing all the other stuff to him? They finally just shut it down the rest of the way?
I think so, Mary. I think that's what happens with that. And I can't find any.
You suppressed it.
I think so. That's what I'm suspecting. It's like something went wrong. Histamine is important for wakefulness and memory. When you look at histidine converts to histamine in the brain, it's a neurotransmitter. It regulates sleep, hormonal secretion, memory formation, and brain arousal. And when I showed that to this patient, he was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. In the stomach, it makes hydrochloric acid. And the other practitioner had him on hypo D, right? Wow. So he's not making enough hydrochloric acid, and it acts as a vasodilator in allergies in immune system response. His immune system is also not working right. So something stopped this conversion of histidine to histamine. And when we look at his histamine levels, they're on the low side. Let's go back up here. They're within normal, but they're low normal. Where's my histamine? Oh, did I lose my histamine? Where'd my histamine go? Did I pass it?
I didn't see it.
It's in here somewhere, but it was on the low end of normal. So where do you see it?
Yeah, I just saw it too.
It's on page 6.
Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so I'd like to see this, closer to mid 60s, 70s, something like that. So histidine high, histamine low tells me he's not converting. So that's that HDC variant. The catecholamines are interesting. Can you hear that?
Puppy?
Is he playing?
Yeah, it's my puppy. He's all rowdy. The norepinephrine is high, and epinephrine, it's okay. Well, this isn't super high. These are okay. These are about in the middle. So these are the catecholamines. So we're looking at COMT. His COMT is dialed in. He definitely has a COMT variant, and you'll see that in a minute when we look at his genetic report. So I got a lot of clues from this. It's like, okay, we definitely have the VDR there. We got problems with the histamine and, the vitamin A. Let me show you that. There's a gene over here. A couple of things are going on with that VDR that are important to pay attention to with patients like this, where you're like, I know there's an infection. That ferritin is showing me an infection. His vitamin D levels are not coming up with supplementation. He's not converting, his amino acids are all wackadoodle. That's the technical term there. And he has a genetic variant here in the retinoid X receptor A and the GC, which is the the vitamin D binding protein. So these two little wild cards are what's throwing everything off. And you'll see that. So let's look at his case, his genetics here real quick, and you can see where it all kind of came together.
Hey Jay, I can't see what you're looking at. You said there was a gene before the GC for the vitamin A variant.
Yeah,
what was the first one you listed?
The RXR. Are you guys seeing my Happy Genes reports?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we're going to go to the mood and personality report. Holly, at least we're recording this so you can look at it later so you can see the visuals here because they're kind of
Perfect.
important. His, you can see his anger, aggression, and irritability levels pretty high. He's got MAOBs and comps and some of the NTPHs and junk. Anxiety.
He did really good for a long time, didn't he?
Yeah, right.
Considering.
I think he was keeping it under wraps and it's causing a little bit of like anxiety and stress, fairly high. Attention and focus issues are there, brain function, thought imbalances, depression. He's not a depressed guy. He's definitely more on the anxious side of things, and he's outgoing, so he's good with social interaction and communication, forms good relationships, low addiction risk, not a woman. Showing up learning difficulties, which was interesting. I was like, dude, do you have trouble like with retention? Like when you read? He's like, yeah. What did he say? He said, sounding out words, pronouncing words. They're like their normal intelligence. Oh, summarizing stories, memorization, reading aloud. So he definitely has some genetic variants there that are going to affect his memory, but they're not the primary things that are affecting his memory. So you'll see in a minute. Massively high risk of novelty seeking and impulsivity.
Wow.
Always got to have something new. Perfectionist tendencies, medium high. It's fun to read these to people because they're, I'll say, do you get to a point where you're like, okay, good enough? You don't like keep working on things. And he's like, yeah, that I don't need to have it perfect and it's good enough. Let's pass it on. But when you see this high risk, these people are like, they never get stuff done because it's just not perfect.
Failing perfectionism.
Yeah, the OCD kind of stuff. PTSD there. Opioid addiction is fairly low. No seasonal affective disorder. Although he says I need the sun is what he said. So I want to look at the genes there and see if maybe there's some that we need to look at. Sleep disorders, nothing. So then there's our ACATs. So when I had him redo my Happy Genes reports, then I saw the ACATs and there they are. So this, this is the one that causes the high cholesterol, atherosclerosis, cardiovascular disease, gallbladder imbalances, weight issues, type 2 diabetes. The gallbladder, again, is going to interfere with our absorption of the fat-soluble vitamins. So that's number one hit on VDR when we're looking at the genes, but also that high cholesterol. So we're going to pay, he's got two big reds there. So this is, this is a primary. He's got the ACE variants, but it's interesting because when I asked him, usually you'll see increased blood pressure here. He doesn't have any of the symptoms here. And I'm like, okay, well, this one clearly isn't a problem for you, but it can lead to dementia and Alzheimer's disease. So it's something to think about in the future. This ACE2 is associated with coronavirus infection and cardiomyopathy kind of stuff. So it's something. He's got risk factors for cardiovascular disease for sure. But let me just go down to the primary ones that we're looking at. This guy, it turned out to be a big player because his homocysteine levels were high. Again, cardiovascular disease, attention issues, and hyperactivity. He does have noise-induced hearing loss. And it's interesting. He said when I started on the methylation stuff, the methylrenew and the trimethylglycine, that he could hear better. I thought that was interesting. So that one was definitely showing up. So what I do is I look at, okay, here are the risks. These go to the studies, right? These are the links to the studies. These are the risks. Do you have some of those symptoms? And he's like, yeah, definitely. This one sounds like me. So I go, okay, we're going to pay close attention to that one. If they don't sound like him, then we know that they're not impressing. But look at those comps.
Bam, 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 bam.
Yeah, I'm like, really, Greg, this is Charles, this is your biggie. There's the anxiety, novelty seeking behavior, the high cortisol levels, the insulin kind of blood sugar creeping up, sleep disorders, panic disorders, anger and aggression. So this is our big bad boy. It was fairly under control because we didn't see on his blood work, we didn't see the catecholamines high. So my current program is working on that count. So that's why I like the blood work. It's like, yeah, that part, we got that part balanced. That's good. CYPs, there's a DAO. Now this is part of the allergies. When I looked at his risk of allergies and histamine imbalances, he had massive, it's so big, massive amounts of variance up here in the allergy area. He's got MAOBs, a bunch of them, and a DAO. I think the HNMT2, I can't remember. We'll take a look, but there's one DAO there. It's causing some allergy problems. He had like the trifecta of allergies. These are the dyslexia kind of genes, associated genes. And this one, the dopamine decarboxylase, also associated with dopamine and serotonin levels. So, but we have those balanced. Couple of DHFRs. Now those are in the methylation pathway. So I'm counting the number of methylation genes, and there's 3 so far. The DRD2 is very much associated with memory issues as well. And impulsivity, short-term memory issues right there.
So a lot of other factors went into the results according to like the opioid addiction, because that was low for him, right?
Right. Exactly. There were other, the opioid receptors are the ones we use to really calculate those. Those are the big players. Big genes in the entrepreneurial category. But the thing that saves him there is like he's got the responsibility genes. You've heard me talk about those. The DRD4s, if they're all green, are usually make the people really super ultra responsible. Here's another gene that's going to interfere with lipid metabolism. So kind of building the case for a gallbladder dysfunction. There's a GAD, not major GADs there, but there's our GCs. Now this is associated with low vitamin D levels. So I think this is one of the pieces that has not been addressed with just A, D, and K. 2 big red ones. I hardly ever see that. That's like, whoa. There's our GPX1 that I had seen like way back when, but you can see all these blocks to making glutathione here. There's major issues toward detoxification. Mm-hmm. Can't really make glutathione efficiently. No genes for iron metabolism here, the HFEs that are associated with iron overload. So I don't suspect hemochromatosis with that ferritin. A couple of HLAs. Now this kind of keys into, Mary, you're talking about autoimmune. These are highly associated with autoimmune kind of things here. So that may be a piece of it. Some lactose intolerance there, but here's the LDLR. Do you remember me talking about the doctor that I met on the plane who's the cardiologist? This is the gene that he was really studying. And it leads to the hypercholesterolemia, Alzheimer's. So again, a little problem child there too. But here's our MAOBs. I've never seen this before. Triple MAOBs. And that's the one associated with allergies, but also anxiety. So we're adding, you can see how it's just sort of building up to.
Yeah, go back up a little bit. Is that MAOs? How are they all doing?
They're not bad. Not bad. Really? They're just one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just one of them. So he's not a big temper guy. The temper is coming probably, a little bit from the COMT more than the MAOs. So. But then there's some other really interesting things down here. There's the MUT. I've never seen this either, a double MUT. And I was like, dude, you're a MUT. Do you guys remember where that is?
That's, I'll have my glasses on.
He's down here. Down here.
There you go. Okay.
Turning malonic acid into succinyl-CoA and coming through the electron transport chain. Guess what makes malonic acid? Leucine, isoleucine, valine.
All three of them?
Yeah. So these, let's see if we talk about it in here. Yeah, right here. Maybe possible for them just substances that include small amounts of the problematic amino acids, isoleucine, threonine, methionine, and valine without causing an attack. So this is the branch chain amino acids come through here, and this MUT enzyme requires adenylcobalamin. And you can see it here again, isoleucine and valine. Leucine is in there as well. So that's why we were seeing all that, all those branch chain amino acids on his amino acid test. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So adenosine B12 is really what he needs. This is also a carnitine dependent enzyme. Adenosine B12 and carnitine are going to clear that up. So we were missing the boat there. We weren't fully balancing the MUT, and you can see that show up in that amino acid test. So double MUT. Not much in the nitric oxide pathway. It's not bad. N-doofus is fine. Look at his N-doofuses are okay. So down in the electron transport chain, not a big problem there. These are the opioid receptors there, Russ, right here. So you can see he's just got one there. And these are the oxytocin receptors, and he's balanced. You know, I know him. He's not a super emotional guy, but he's not cold either. You know, he's kind of got a nice balance there.
Nice.
His wife is an empath, and she has all greens all the way across here. It's like she really has to watch it. She has to protect herself from other people's energy because it just takes her down.
Mm.
And he doesn't quite understand that. You know, it's like, drop it. You know, she's like, I can't. You know.
Yeah.
I care about everybody.
Too much.
So Jay, what are the symptoms if those are in the red?
If oxytocin's in the red, the oxytocin receptors. Well, too many reds there, and they just don't have any empathy for anybody.
Hard.
Yeah, they're just like cold. You just can't connect to them. Have you ever met people like that where they just can't? There's no warmth. You know, there's no heart there. Too many greens, and they're just too much heart. Toby, buddy, look at this beast.
He's cute.
He's a cutie, but he's a noisy boy.
The boy.
With his noisy toys.
Sounds like he's chewing on the right thing, at least.
Yeah. So that's the oxytocin. And then there's one little pimp. We did see some sign of that showing up a little bit. And as you remember, that can also lead to gallbladder issues. But here's another bad boy, buddy. RXRAs. So that's what I was talking about, the retinoid X receptors. And so let's click one of those babies. These genes encode for nuclear receptors that mediate the biological effects of retinoids, which are compounds derived from vitamin A. These receptors function as transcription factors, which bind specific DNA sequences and regulate DNA transcription. They play a role in energy production, regulate blood sugar levels, cholesterol, and anti-inflammation responses. So again, VDR, this is why we haven't been able to get anywhere with that VDR. Look at that, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, 4 red ones. And then the good old SLC 22A5. Do you guys remember where that baby is?
That's right before the mitochondria.
Yeah. So again, this is gonna be a problem for fat absorption because he can't get carnitine into the cell. He can't burn fat as a fuel. So you can see there's this whole big mess right here that's backing up the Krebs cycle all the way back up to the glucose and cholesterol.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, that would make the blood work not so clear to me that it's an ACAT. Because that mitochondria is getting blocked off. So then you're going to have it anyway. So I wouldn't, that's why I was asking earlier about it. Are you finding that in the test too? Because I thought, well, that could be high just because it can't get used.
Right. And sometimes when you're muscle testing and it's like, okay, it looks like everything's cleared down below, but you're still seeing pyruvate or you're still seeing cholesterol, you know you have an ACAT.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Sometimes it'll look like,
you know, sitting there waiting on you. Yeah.
Right. But if everything clears, you clear this down here and everything above clears, then you know you're there.
You get everything cleared up and all of a sudden the ACAT's on fire.
Yeah.
What's that about?
Right.
It's like, hey.
And then there's the tryptophan. This is a nasty little piece of work here. This guy is involved in the synthesis of serotonin.
And that dude's lucky to know you.
Why?
He's got a pretty wild deck, man.
I know. And then on top of that, UGGs. He's got the UGGs. The UGG gene. And it's nasty. So again, that one is showing us why the bilirubin is high. He said, yeah, I've always had high bilirubin. That guy over here interfering with phase 2 detoxification. So he's definitely got a backup there. I've never seen that either. You know, it's like, God dang, you got the trifecta.
Many of them.
But his VDR isn't that bad. So, do you see that? It's like it's a lot of green. So the VDR isn't really the problem. The problem is coming from that RXR, the GC, and then the gallbladder kind of interfering with the absorption of the AD and K. So this is how helpful this, you know, looking at this, like, why isn't his vitamin D coming up? Aren't we getting that ferritin down? Why is that cholesterol still up there? And you can see kind of why now. So
I'm going to ask a question about the vitamin A, vitamin D. So if you see vitamin D that's at a kind of a low level on the blood lab, but you know they've been on a good amount, so we're going to suspect then that RXRA as maybe a culprit in not elevating the vitamin D. Is that correct? Like they need more D to move that D?
No.
More A, excuse me.
It could be A, or it could be, you know, it could be gallbladder support, or it could be essential fatty acids. There's lots of little factors that can go into this down here. Or it could be methylation.
I'd love to discuss like all of the little components just in one list for us today so that we can kind of check those off. Because, you know, I have a couple of patients where they've been on D and it's like, okay, I need to go back and like what you did with this patient, kind of, you know, look at their DNA. I'm waiting for some DNA reports to come in, but I'd kind of like to sleuth out maybe what I'm going to look for. So this is really good because it's giving me some ideas.
Okay, great. But yeah, if you look at
we can kind of just recap.
I'm sorry?
If we can just recap so I can just check those off, I'd be really appreciative.
Yeah, so right here, you can't see this, but on the interactive chart, if you pop open the VDR, it'll say, you know, balance with vitamin K2, which is like super important, vitamin A and vitamin D3. And what I did with him is I put him on a micellized vitamin A from Claire Labs because I think he's just not absorbing it because of those retinoid X receptor areas. So we really bumped his A levels and gave him the micellized form. That's just to start. Gallbladder support for better absorption. I'm sorry?
There we go. That's what I was after. Was like, yeah, I feel like I'm good on the different factors and how to make sure we're doing that. It's those extra genes that maybe are going to clue me into, you know, to kind of say, okay, you feel like you're balancing it, but something's still not right. So these are the genes that are definitely connected to that VDR and that vitamin D. So like that RXRA, if there's any little pearls of wisdom like that, that's kind of what I was thinking that I wanted to hear more about.
Yeah. So the retinoid X receptor A, so they won't test well on vitamin A, and you're going to have to dink around with like a good form of it. So some people go, oh, I'm just going to leave the A off, but then the VDR is not going to work because half of the VDR is an A receptor. You got to have both A and D in there and the K to tell it where to go. But there's also the BCM01, which is the ability to convert beta carotene into vitamin A. That can be a problem, and that will come up in the, in the beta carotene tester. We'll show that one.
Yeah, I have that.
Back to the retinoid X receptor, the vitamin A will test adverse. I don't know if you guys have seen that. I've seen it on several patients. They get massive headaches when they try to take vitamin A in certain forms. And then the GC is the other one, Holly. That one is, I don't have a remedy for that one specific. I'm not really sure, to be honest, what clears that one. It seems like, it's under investigation. It's one of the genes that's in pink rather than purple, because I don't know how to work with it by itself, how to test for it specifically by itself. So I'm working on that. But then, you look at, let me pop this guy open again. You look at gallbladder support for better absorption of ADK, and that's ACAT. So ACAT could be gunking us up over here because it's how we make bile. If you can't make bile, you can't absorb your ADK. So it's like a vicious cycle there.
And my mind keeps going to the COMT.
Okay. Tell me more, Russ.
Well, it's whenever we pressure out the VDR, we've always looked at the COMT and the PEMT to make sure that they're still hanging.
Yeah, for sure.
Getting adverse, so then usually you come in with minerals, whatever that it likes, it seems to balance out that VDR more.
Yeah.
But this seems, I don't know if this is over and above that. It seems like it must be.
Yeah, it is, but you're right. It allows you to push more on that VDR. If it's like, oh, I can only get like 100 IU vitamin D in here, and this vitamin D level is at 17 or 22, then you're not able to push it hard enough because of that comp. You're exactly right.
He's got variants.
Yeah, big time. So that's it's something we want to pay a lot of attention to for him. And then, so the gallbladder support. So that would be, also he had a PEMT there. So it could be something like phosphatidylcholine you'd want to look at.
Methyl donors.
Bile, some kind of bile, where hopefully we're going to get that ACAT converting cholesterol into bile so that your absorption comes up. Manganese GC, calcium, magnesium blends, and trace minerals. Also, I have found, and essential fatty acids too, have, so these are some of the top products that really help push that VDR. Holly, it's on you have the interactive chart, right?
Well, actually, no, I have an email out to Greg because I can't download it. I mean, I can download it, I just can't open it.
Oh, no. Yeah, have him get on that for you.
Yeah, so I sent him out an email today, actually.
Okay, good. So the beta TCP, beta plus from Biotics Research, or GB plus from NutriWest, GB Complete. I like GB Complete. It's been testing really well from Zorex, sometimes in combination with some of the others. But, in the case like this, we more than likely want to, kind of err on the side of hedging our bets with giving him some gallbladder support. There's too many.
I like to do that early on. I like to do a lot of liver support when we can, fit it in early on, like in the ACAT and stuff, because I think it actually really does help people quite a bit down the road as well.
Yeah.
On the other pathways.
Yeah, I think you're right. So it was interesting what the, let's look at the My Happy Genes report again. I want to show you where the machine, what the supplement program spit out for us on him. Where did I put it? Where did I put it? Yeah. Don't look at the name. Okay, so he went ahead and took the questionnaire on the My Happy Genes report, And as you know, this tallies up their score. We're going towards 0. We want to go to 0, which means they have no symptoms associated with a category. A score of 10 is not bad. So his detox pathways are working fairly well on current supplementation. Hormones are good. Now, this is where we start to see the higher scores on brain chemistry pathways, which makes sense. Still having a lot of anxiety and methylation. Histamine, not bad. His allergy symptoms under control. Immune system pathways are pretty good. Inflammation, not really symptoms of inflammation. Energy production pathways, not bad. So this is what the machine spit out. And adenosylcobalamin, we know, is really going to be important for that MUT. So it's good that it did that. It spotted it and said, oh yeah, you need this. The B6, super important for that histidine decarboxylase and the MAOB that's there. Remember the two that we had, the two kind of things we had going on up here in the histamine pathway. We want more histamine. We want to convert the histidine to histamine, and that's a B6 dependent enzyme. But we also are going to run, just like you're talking about, Russ, we're going to run into this MAOB if we're not careful, and his histamine is going to go too high. And so, well, this turns out B6 balances both of those. So that was a good call as far as like, right supplement recommendation by the machine.
So that's not necessarily just about getting methyl donors over there. That's a little more than that. In the B6.
Right. The methyl donors go over there for the HNMT.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, more so. But then there's the L-carnitine fumarate, which then comes in down below, back down here. The carnitine. Carnitine is going to help that SLC22A4, and I don't know if you noticed, but it was also recommending the mushrooms to open up this. So we got the adenosine B12, the mushrooms for the ergothioneine, and the carnitine. So that's going to balance that right there. There's the mushroom blend, the My Community Comprehensive Immune Support. Phosphatidylcholine for liver and gallbladder and fat absorption. The R-lipoic acid coming in, and riboflavin does lots of little things, but R-lipoic acid for the ACAT. Thiamine would be another good one for this to have spit out. It didn't, but the muscle testing told me to add that one for the cholesterol. When we tested him, I had to add the thiamine 50. Riboflavin, I'm using a lot more of that for methylation these days because it doesn't end up causing the problems that methyl renew causes. And
it's funny because I haven't been deliberately doing that. But when I start now with the test kits, they're as balanced as they are and as good as the supplements work for the body. Sometimes you can cheat a little bit when you're not finding a clear thing. Okay, what supplement's just going to take care of this? And then something like the power pill or riboflavin ends up in there, and then all of a sudden the methylfolate just disappears.
Yes, exactly.
It disappears in preference or something. It just.
Yeah. Oh, geez.
So at first I was like, "What?" And then you were talking about that a while back, and I was like, "It's because of the riboflavin."
Yeah, I love using that because I really hated using folic acid. It always, my light's gone crazy. It always ended up being problematic.
Right.
So, riboflavin. I don't know if you guys, Mary and Holly, have you been using a lot of riboflavin?
Not as much.
I get some of the combo products I use. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm finding it to be solving a lot of methylation issues. And then the the Ka and D, and you can certainly use any brands. I switched the vitamin A to the micellized from Claire Labs, and it seemed to work better for him. And I'm using a different K than what the machine spit out. And then I was able to get the vitamin D up a little bit more to 2000.
What does micellized mean? Is that more absorbable?
Yeah, exactly. It's smaller particles, so it goes in. It's more better, well absorbed.
How are you liking the Tri-K?
It's pretty good. It's okay. Yeah.
They're testing like complete K, or
I think complete K tests a little better.
I find it hard to beat, but I haven't really dug around much.
Yeah, I just went to this because it's available at FullScript. I was trying to do
Gotcha.
as much as I could on FullScript, and I talked to NutraWest and they wouldn't go on FullScript, and I was like,
Yeah.
that's too bad. I want to use some of your products, but the doctors are like, I'd like to have one place where I can go and get it all. And so like, so that's what I was trying to do. Do you guys, any of you all use FullScript?
I do not.
No.
I have better results getting accounts individually than I do with the like FullScript and Emerson.
Yeah.
They don't really like my credentials enough yet, I guess.
So this all tested really good. I had to add a few things to it. The essential fatty acids didn't come up. I've since added those into the program so that it comes up more readily, because I think a lot of people need EFAs. The thiamine 50 is another one that I had to add, and then I added in just to hedge my bet on that cholesterol, so I could avoid them putting him on a statin. I put in Vasculocert from Biotics Research. So I just kind of used this as a base foundation and then built on it, and then it cleared everything. I cleared all the vials. We did the amino acid test on him. It all cleared with this program as well. So it really all came together, it was really cool to see. My Happy Genes is doing pretty good. We're getting, I'd say 85-90% of what we need on a program. And so it kind of speeds things up. If you can use this as a foundation and kind of build with it or build around it or change things here and there, I think it's pretty close. I think it's getting pretty close. So.
Right. Are you looking for the amino acids to cause stress? Or are you doing neutrality? How are you?
Stress. Yeah. Well, you can use neutrality, see what's low and what's high. That's probably a better way to do it. Yeah. So,
so you're actually immediately looking for stress, and then about that stress.
Well, you'll get some clues with this amino acid tester definitions. You can kind of look through here and go, why is that glycine high? Oh, it could be kidneys. Let's go back and check the kidneys. Or it could be this weird gene here that I don't really know much about. But so this is a work in progress. And the cool thing about the links that you have on the site, you will always have the updated version. So as I'm working on it, it'll be constantly current in your membership site.
Okay.
Yeah. Any questions?
Yeah. I have a question about the amino acids again. So I've done several labs where I've done the amino acid profiles, and I'm kind of learning about them. So it was a good time for me to jump in. None of them were medically out of range, according to the lab's reference ranges. But when I look at them and I kind of say, okay, if I were to, apply a functional eye to this, then I'm seeing some that are potentially low and high. And so when we see that, if they're low, is there a reason to think that in the pathways, we're going to see a reason why they're going to be deficient in those? Is it because maybe they're using more of it, so we need to supplement that? Or is it maybe just their bodies are not making it, not converting it?
Yeah, I would say the latter, especially if it's like one or two and not all the amino acids. If it's all of them, I would suspect hydrochloric acid and, low protein diets. But if it's like one or two out of range, then you're going to find, that something is not making it, that it's getting blocked. So look for where the substrate might be high and the product is low. There's a really cool website here. I really just found this today and I was like, this is cool. And it's called Amino Acid Biosynthesis and Catabolism, the medical biochemistry page. And I put that link on that document of amino acids so you could take a look at it. But it gives you, some of the breakdown of those pathways. In the amino acid genetic interpretation, on the bottom too, you'll see some pathways that I stuck in there. So you can start to see what might be causing that to be low. So like, for instance, I know you can't see this, Holly, but citrate converts to glutamate and then glutamine, proline, and arginine through the alpha ketoglutarate enzyme. And so if you see low glutamine, low proline, or low arginine, then you might look at citrate and see if it's high. And then you know there's your culprit, is your alpha ketoglutarate is the culprit there. Yeah, there's still a lot to learn here, right?
Yeah.
Oh no, let's nerd out on this stuff, right? But
I'm glad you can, man. I'm thankful. I'm thankful.
I'm
so thankful.
But this is cool. This is like a really cool website on foundational biochemistry, intestinal amino acid uptakes, digest, all the way from digestion, uptake, essential versus non-essential amino acids. I think there's a lot of clues here and a lot of really good information. So take a look at that. That's my story.
Nice.
Very nice.
Thank you. Yeah, wasn't it cool to see it all kind of like make sense with the genetics, and then
yeah.
Have you got to muscle test this protocol with him?
Yeah, I did. Well, surrogate. We did surrogate. He's flying down. He's going to come down at the end of this month, and I'll get to do it on him in person and recheck all of these amino acids and see what's going on.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
very nice.
Yeah, you're probably going to change his life over the next 30, 45 days.
I think so. I hope so. I hope we just nail the rest of this. Get him off the Xanax.
Exactly.
And get the rest of this.
Statins. Get that cholesterol.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll let you guys know the next chapter on this story, because I think we're going to nail it this time.
That's awesome.
But this is good. I mean, because it was like we were getting there with the muscle testing and with the genes, but I didn't have the full genetic report, and I didn't have the blood work. I didn't have the amino acids, and that gave me that extra few clues. I'm hoping to see that ferritin just drop and his cholesterol drop and the anxiety drop and all of that. So, all right. So that's
the amino acid kit gives me, because I don't really mess with blood work, and it's not an area that I've really ever. I mean, it'd be a whole learning experience for me.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering if that amino acid kit will allow me to stay, tight enough with all of this, with muscle testing, versus having to really do blood work.
Yeah, I think
it's really only those rare cases where things just don't seem like they're working.
Right. It's just a good backup when you're finally like, all right,
it's working.
Something's off. I'm missing something. I think you can do a lot of it with, I'm a big fan of muscle testing. You and I know, that's my primary mode of diagnosis. So that's why I created that kit. It was like, not everybody's going to want to spend the extra $200 on the amino acid test, but now I see how important it is. I'm going to be using that test kit a lot more often. Yeah.
Did you find, Jay, that the test kit correlated with the lab you did?
It did. Yeah. Yeah. It really
I don't have the one kit I don't have. Is that one?
Yeah. It's always something with me, isn't it? It's like, what? Another kit? I swear, that's it. I swear, I'm not going to create any more kits.
Refinement, man.
Yeah. Tell me that next year, Jay.
Dang it. Yeah, but it's always something. But I keep looking for those missing pieces, because I think there are some people that are tricky, and this is one of them. With those GC and the RXRA genes and that ACAT and that MUT and the UGT. This was an unusual set of genes that's leading to some funky kind of things going on that was not your typical, because the basic protocol really hits about 85% of your people, right? And,
Oh, yeah. I think so.
Yeah, and then the rest of the kits brings it home to about 90, 95. But then there are those few people that you're like, what? What is this? So this was fun to see the answers come alive in the blood work and in the genetic tests. So anyway, thanks for coming, you guys. Any other thoughts, questions, anything you want to talk about?
No,
I don't think so.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think I'm good for right now. I'm gonna probably have questions down the road. I'm gonna absorb all of a couple of tabs to go through. So I'll have questions.
Okay, sounds good. And you can, we're going to start posting for you guys on the master methylation site so that you can ask, a little more advanced questions on there. I don't know if you noticed at the bottom, there's a question and answer kind of thing. So I'd like to get a chat going there. We're also going to start posting all of these recordings. I haven't posted the first one yet. That was just you and I, Russ, right?
Yeah.
On the first one.
Very first one.
Yeah, so I'm in the middle of making a new page where I can post all the webinars that we're doing. We did a review. The first one, we did a review of the electron transport chain and energy production pathways, and looking at the power pill and looking at the extra.
Yeah, I think I couldn't get on that day. That was the day.
Oh no! Oh, that's right. It was
so I ended up watching it like the next day.
Yeah.
The gentleman had an accident, but I can't remember what his name was.
Oh, yeah. It was Alex. It was Alex. Yeah.
He had an accident. I remember that.
Yeah. Mary?
I just wonder, how homeopathy, as people have gotten so compromised over time. So, when people did the classical prescribing, it was very difficult to get to the bottom of the case. Yeah. I wonder in some respect if that's what we're going to see with some of this methylation or maybe not. But I would think with all the stuff going on right now and the vaccines, I just wonder if it's going to be even more difficult to peg and narrow it down because, I don't know. I'm just asking. I don't know if I'm asking the right question of that, but I just wonder if how that's going to pan out on long term with people.
Me too. I'm seeing some pretty nasty stuff with it. I don't know if you guys are.
I was following the deal that you had on the group page where you had done one. Did you find that after you built a protocol? Was that before the protocol?
That was after.
You built the protocol and then stuck the vial there and still had a reaction.
Yeah. If you guys need, do you all have the vaccine vials? We have the kit of 7 of them.
Mine should be coming. I talked to Anna the other day. They should be in the mail.
Look at your cool setup there, Russ.
You like it?
That's awesome.
Yeah, I've got you've created me to have to build some new shelves.
Look at you.
Right up there in that corner up there, I'm gonna put some shelves across there so I can put all these supplements in one place. Dude. And I'll get rid of a bunch of testers.
That's awesome.
Very nice.
So do you think it's
how?
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Jay. How do we get the vials for the vaccines?
Anna can just send that right on over to you.
Okay, I'll call Anna.
I'll write her a note that you want them.
Oh, perfect. That'd be awesome.
And I'll have her get that for you.
Will you write her a note to send me an amino acid kit?
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
You know what? Have her send me an amino acid kit too.
Okay.
I was going to say earlier, Jay, I've been playing around with this for several years, bugging you and stuff. And I will tell you that going through the level 1, just for whatever, it just has made things tighter, and it's not like all this is new to me, but for some reason, just more information about everything makes it more usable and more applicable.
What, level 1?
Yeah.
On the online course, you mean?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Just going through that and going through that information and just getting it in your brain. And because I'm really a firm believer that there's a few switches somewhere that have to be turned on for the rest to work, no matter what we do. Yeah. And if we don't get those switches turned on, then it doesn't stay on.
Yeah.
And so you want to focus on the VDR, or you want to focus on the inducts and the mitochondria, but then you kind of leave the ACAT out.
Right.
Or you leave the COMT out,
You can't do it. Yeah.
And it's like, no, you never get the switches turned on.
Yeah.
You help, but you don't ever bring it around,
So
I've seen a huge difference in that.
Russ, I absolutely agree with you. And which brings me to a question I wanted to ask. I'll ask all of you guys this. So when patients come in and they come in for their retest, oftentimes a SNP will clear. And I'm like, wow, you don't need support there anymore. But a few weeks go by in between their next test, and they start to not do well. And I look back in hindsight at how they did and kind of when they started not to feel well, and I can say, wow, that, they kind of burned through some of the supplements that they would have had or the nutrients they had. The next time they come in, they re-need those again.
Yeah.
That grammar was. Do you guys find that? So for me, it's like after I've seen them, 5 or 6 times, I don't want to leave them vulnerable. So I go ahead and I just include those. I test them and make sure that their body will accept them. But even if they didn't like jump out at me like, oh, I have a definite need here, I don't want to leave them vulnerable. Do you guys see that as well?
Yeah, definitely. And usually it's like they just need a small amount of it. And sometimes like selenium or zinc is a classic one. It's like, now you need the selenium and now you don't. Now you need it, now you don't. So I'll put people on like even a quarter of a pill long term. It's like, I'm sick of this yo-yo thing. It's like you just need a little bit long term. So.
I started seeing that less after so I quit putting their supplements, like their current supplements, I quit trying to fit them in the beginning. I just kind of consider them kind of raw when they walk in the door and go straight to the basic kit or the organ kit. I figure they've been taking those supplements up till this morning.
Right.
So they're all there and they've either caused some adversity or they've opened up a door that needs to be cleaned up. And so I just go and find out what's in that basic kit and then I clear all that. And then after I kind of get maybe even through my Methyl Renew challenge and VDR Super challenge, then I'll see, does this fit back in? If the VDR Super challenge shows up, then I'll definitely fit back in whatever I haven't fit in because it'll probably cover it.
Right. Yeah.
Especially if it's AD&K or minerals,
right.
And then so I see those things filtering back in more than when I used to run them all first and then set them aside, the ones that didn't work. Then you're fighting to get them back in there the whole time. Because
that makes sense. I like that.
They belong, But I figured the stresses that are there are present, go find them, find those stresses and then fit in the rest of the supplements that they've already been on.
That makes sense. I like that.
Yeah, I do it. I do it actually that way too. I'll test and then I'll add them in and then I'll go to the next kit. Yeah. They go faster too.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Very cool.
So, one weird thing that I have been finding, especially on rechecks, is you'll have these 3 or 4 vials that show up. And I've been finding some of them be in that last row of vials that kind of should be clear when everything's working right.
On the basic kit?
And so like I had a trimethylglycine show up the other day and nothing would fix until I solved it with zinc.
Oh, cool.
I had COMTs and ACATs all, but they wouldn't let me fix. I mean, I could get stuff that would take care of the vial, but nothing would be beneficial.
That's probably the BHMT that you ran into.
So I went and took care of that trimethylglycine, and then boom, I could fix the other 2, and then I could move forward. So it's almost like, all right, what's the priority here? Really, because you go through those other ones trying to fix them first.
Yeah, well, that was probably, like I say, it's probably BHMT, which you probably haven't paid a lot of attention to. It's
right.
We haven't talked about it a lot, but I just, I did see it come up with this patient as well, but it's right here. So this is, I think you're exactly right. I think that's it's a zinc dependent enzyme.
Yeah. Once I put that zinc in, it's zinc-zyme, then I could go back and clear everything else up and then bring in the rest of his supplements and it all cleared right up.
Yeah.
And the zinc stayed in through the whole deal.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't get kicked out because something else allowed everything to work. I mean, it stayed in through the preference and everything.
Cool. So Mary, to answer your question, homeopathy. I think there's some call for that, especially with, when we use I don't know if you have heard the HLA vial talk and the major histocompatibility complex and the human leukocyte antigens. And we saw that with this patient. He had a couple of genetic variants there in the HLAs. Can cause like an immune over response to certain things like foods or even organs where the body's attacking itself. I see it activated by vaccines and other things. Often the homeopathy will clear it. so I got these homeopathics from PCHF, and I got their test kit, and it has all, all the little sample vials in it, and I put them in my black kits and just put it on top of them, and often I'll find a homeopathic for those. And also with, I don't know, it'll be interesting to see what's happening with the current vaccines.
Yeah, you just wonder where it's going to go. I don't think I know I haven't seen a lot of it, and I have very few patients that really got it. And then I have a few that did get it and end up with a pacemaker and other cardiac stuff. But, those are the medical profession ones, you think they'd have enough sense not to take it, but that was not the case. So, yeah, I just was curious. Another thing I was going to ask, I noticed people are talking more about it on Facebook. Are they going to shut that down because of the conversations going on?
I got a warning. I did get a warning.
Huh? I was going to say, is there a way that maybe everybody can just, you did get a warning? When I started seeing it popping up, I thought, oh, this is not good.
Yep.
But is there a way just that everybody could talk the lingo with maybe just using a different letter or word or?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Just use the VX or something like that.
Because people have got to be seeing stuff all over, and no one can say anything. But I noticed, so you already got a warning, huh?
Yeah, well, it said this has been proven false or whatever, and then I followed the link. It was somebody posted that the vaccines were not tested or something like that, and so I followed the link, and the link actually went to a study that said the vaccines are not tested.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. No, there's stuff that they're posting that people said in Congress by researchers, and those sites are also being shut down. You see it underneath Robert Kennedy a lot.
Yeah.
That they're showing links to like senators talking about stuff, but they're just knocking them out. Yeah. So it'd be sad to see it knocked out, because this would be your only avenue.
I know. It's like,
I mean, which is, I don't know. I guess I don't know. I know Patrick and Temple, they had to do some crazy stuff with their videos when they did the COVID lecture. They did, I don't know what they did a month ago or something. They had to use, they got the biggest turnout on it, but they used, I don't even remember what they used, but they used something totally different so it wouldn't be caught in the algorithms.
Oh, it's probably some kind of a privacy site?
Yeah, so they just used some other word, or they changed, like instead of saying vaccine, they changed the I or something in the middle of it. So it wouldn't be picked up.
Constantly.
I don't know if that's people don't realize they're just, I noticed it was cool to see it because I liked reading it, but somebody posted something on, it was by that Stephanie lady. I can't think, Sinif, I think is her name, from MIT.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's the stuff they're taking down. So you'll get nailed for it, I would suspect. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm pretty relentless on Facebook. I go into a lot of hard stuff, and you just have to change the words to where the people that know what you're reading understand the text, and like some people will just say, when you get your vacation, we know it's not vacation, you know, well, you just have to play around with it a little bit. And then I've just kind of noticed that the group page is getting a little bit more stuff in it than it hasn't this whole time. It's, questionable and controversial. And I'm like, we need to be careful a little bit, or we're going to start getting checked on it.
Right.
Yeah.
We have MeWe. We can always, go back over to MeWe. And I think I'd like the membership site to be, we can do that privately. That's just on my site. So if we get run off of here, it's okay. Or off of Facebook, it's okay.
Right.
This was the link that it said, warning, this has been disproven. And I clicked on it and it said, we need to reevaluate vaccine efficacy by testing the inhibition of viral infection in vivo rather than by quantifying the antibodies produced after in vitro exposure. Reliable proof of immunity through vaccination may only come through reinfection challenge experiments, which you can't do, or through longitudinal studies of post-vaccination subjects. In other words, it has never been proven to be effective. It's never been, it's like, you just made me click on a link that says anyway, you get it. It's like, nobody reads it. They just read the title and then they think that it's proving something. If you read
it's that big print giveth and the small print taketh away.
Yes.
You know, you go to the CDC website and you look at all their big lettered recommendations are wear a mask, stay 6 feet apart, practice social distancing, stay in small groups. And then you go down and read in the small print, it talks about, you know, the actual death mortality rate, you know, and all that stuff. So if you go down and read it, you know, you're going to get confused of what are the recommendations for. But everybody just reads the recommendations like, okay, well, cover and go, you know, and it's just like, meh.
Oh,
Dig a little bit, dig a little bit. So anyway.
Yeah. Big topic.
So Jay, what do I need to do? What's wrong with me accessing my website?
Oh, you can't, I'm not sure. So you followed the.
What I'll do, I did it on my laptop. I'll try to do it on my computer at home.
Okay.
And then maybe if it works and I can get in there, then I'll just send myself that link in an email and try it on this computer. That's the only thing. I just rushed down to the office real quick so I could have a little bit of quiet. And like normally I just do them on my home computer. Maybe it's about that.
Oh, could be.
I've even tried to do a password reset and I haven't got a notification back for that.
Okay.
But I'll try it at home. And if I can't get in, then I'll reach out to Greg maybe.
Reach out to me and then I think I can solve it on the backside because I'm the one who set all that up.
Okay.
If I can't, then I'll.
Because I've gotten in no problem several times on my home computer, and I just assumed that my system would remember the password and move it forward.
Okay.
So I'll see how that goes first before
we
get too rowdy.
All right, Russ, I'm going to send you an amino acid kit and Holly also, and then the vaccine set to Holly. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you guys for coming.
Hey, thanks for doing this. This is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Dave. Really, really appreciate it.
It was good.
You're welcome. And I'll post this within a day or two. I'll post this up on your membership site.
Nice.
All right. See you guys.
Perfect.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.